Okay, for this problem, we have a survey of 50 bank employees in Dubai about the number of hobbies they had. This survey resulted in the following data. So, if you look at this frequency table, it means that, for example, 8 of them had no hobbies, 6 of them had 3 hobbies, and so on. So, now, let's see what the questions are. Let A be the event that an employee has at least one hobby. Find the probability of A. And B and C also find probabilities. So one thing about frequency tables that you can do is, and that's why this third column is made for you, is for you to compute the relative frequency, which is the probability actually. This is the relative frequency. So how do you compute the relative frequency, for example, for 8? You just divide it by the total number, 50, and then you multiply by 100. This is what you will do for all of these numbers. And if you do this, for 8, you will get 8 over 50 times 100. This will be 16%. Or you can write it as 0.16. For 20, 20 over 50 times 100, that's 40%. 12 over 50 times 100 is 24%. And 6 out of 50 times 100 is 12%. 3 out of 50 times 100 is 6%. And 1 out of 50 times 100 is 2%. Notice that if you add the percentages, you must get 100% exactly. So let us, before answering the question, understand what does 16% mean. This, how do you read it? You can say that 16% of employees don't have hobbies, don't have any hobbies. So that's why we have a 0 here. And then, for example, this 12% means that 12% of employees have exactly 3 hobbies, and so on. So let's look back at the question that we're asked to do. For A, let A be the event that an employee has at least one hobby. Now, what does at least one hobby mean? It means 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5. So what's the probability of this A? You can add up all these probabilities, 40 plus 24 plus 12 plus 6 plus 2, or you can subtract the 16%, the one that you have here, from 100%, because you know that they all add up to 100%. So you can say, and by the way, this is 0.16, this is 0.4. If you want it as a decimal, this is 0.24, this is 0.12, and this is 0.06, and this is 0.02. So that it makes things easier. So probability of A is 1 minus the probability of the complement of A. That's exactly what I told you. Instead of finding the addition of all of these probabilities, you can take 1 minus the probability of the complement, which is no hobbies. So probability of at least one hobby is like 1 minus the probability of no hobbies. I will write it like this: 1 minus the probability. Now this A complement is no hobbies, or let's even be more clearer, 0 hobbies. And this would be 1 minus 0.16, which is 0.84 or 84%. Okay? And as I told you, this also will be if you add up all of these numbers here. If you add them up, then you will get also 0.84. Okay, now the second question is, let B be the event that an employee has 3 or more hobbies, find the probability of B. So we want 3 or more hobbies. I'll do it with this color so that you can see where we are. We want 3 or 4 or 5 hobbies for the employee. So this means that we will add 0.12 and 0.06 and 0.02. So you can write that probability of B, or let me write it even in the same color as the other one. Probability of B is equal to 0.12, that's exactly 3 hobbies, plus 0.06, which is exactly 4 hobbies, and 0.02, and that's exactly the one that has 5 hobbies. It's the person who has 5 hobbies. So this will add up to about 20%, which is 0.2. Okay, so the answer to this is 0.2, which is the addition of those 3 here. This one, and this one. Because it says 3 or more hobbies. Now, the last question is, what is the probability that an employee has exactly 2 hobbies? This is an easy question, because exactly 2 means that you have to look only at this. Exactly 2 hobbies, what's the percentage? It's here. It's 24%, which is 0.24. So you can say probability of exactly 2 hobbies is equal to, as we saw, it's 0.24, which is 24%. Yeah, and this is the answer to this simple question. Remember, at the beginning, if you make the relative frequency, when you have a frequency table, this relative frequency will give you the probabilities, and then you look at the question and use these relative frequencies to answer whatever question that you might be asked. And this answers this question.